and we are going to be doing the and one of the barriers to that we understand is that just don't know to for that professional support. They're not really comfortable with who does what. Eliminate. And today we're going to be introducing a doula, Arialle Kennedy Smith, who we're going to ask about what a doula does, what services a doula provides, and just get to know more about how this type of professional interacts with a birth. So please stream on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. So I'm going to bring Arialle on. Thumbs up if you're ready to join. I see. I'm going to assume. Okay, perfect. Go. All right. Arialle should be joining our live momentarily.
Hi there.
All right. And so thank you all for you who are joining us on this live chat on pregnancy was. All right. I see Arialle. Hope the community can see her on the live. Up. And let me make sure that I can hear. All right, Arialle, can you see me? I see you. Great. You side by side. Welcome. And
Hi there.
I'm going to I'm going to keep this other when it just looks. We're gonna toggle on one more account a little bit. Instagram support. Perfect. We can see you both. All right, great. So the lovely Nick, and we want. How would you define what services does a doula offer a birthing person?
So, hi everyone. Thank you guys for watching. And I am blessed to be able to serve my community as a doula. As a doula, I offer different kinds of birthing services to moms in the upstate community in South Carolina. And I usually meet with the mom around her second trimester. I offer different services such as support during the mom's pregnancy. I help her through birth planning options. We also go over nutrition. We do comfort measure support to help her kind of labor at home as long as possible. And then I support her once she goes into the hospital and kind of just reminding mom of her power. As a holistic doula, I believe that birth is a physiological thing and that women are indeed empowered to birth their way. And so I'm kind of like that liaison between mother and doctor. Sometimes moms may not understand what's going on at some of their visits, and they may ask further questions. And sometimes I just kind of help them understand or even ask them to ask further questions when they don't feel comfortable asking questions to their providers. And usually, after I assist mom during her birth, I also help her a little bit shortly after for the postpartum period with some breastfeeding education. Lactation consulting is not within my scope, but I do offer a little bit of support surrounding breastfeeding and the postpartum period as well. I'm a firm believer that many people prepare for the wedding, but not the marriage. So within my prenatal sessions, I also offer some postpartum support or planning just to kind of help mom, especially new moms or even multi-birthing moms, transition from being an either single or just a wife to motherhood. And pretty much that doula is pretty much that village. And usually like back, even, in ancient times people were surrounded by midwives, or they were surrounded by their community, by their aunties. Well, a lot of people don't have that, especially here in South Carolina, particularly in the upstate. A lot of people are moving from all parts of the literally the country. Like, I've had clients from Arizona to Texas to New Jersey to Missouri, and a lot of them are without family. So as a doula, I kind of get to be that, to bridge that gap, and I'm also able to be a part of their village. So basically, a doula is a mother's support in a nutshell. All right, so I think the screen must be frozen a bit. So a little bit what I do as a doula, a lot of times during my postpartum periods, especially, which I, again, like I said before, um, during the postpartum period, it's kind of like the marriage, if you will. And so sometimes what I might do is I might even help mom with her birthing bag. A lot of times she doesn't really know what to do, especially if they're first time birthing moms. Sometimes I will help them with literally coming up with a list of things. I help them think through, what do you want to see in the birthing room, not only during your birth but after birth. What do you want to feel? What do you want to smell? And so a lot of times in my birthing bag, I'll have all sorts of things with me, from battery candles to, I also bring my diffuser with sage in it. With I'll diffuse like sage, clary sage. Sometimes I'll have a fan with me. I might have snacks. So literally, like, I have like a bag of tricks with me when I'm in the birthing room. And then for the postpartum period, particularly for home births, which I know we might get to later, for home births that might look a little bit different, because with home births you have a little bit more flexibility. So I might prepare like a meal for the mom, or I might make padsicles, or I might even do a grocery run. Sometimes with my birthing moms, if they continue on with me, I can even do captured photos. I've also done labor photos as well, and labor videos. So the last time I had a client in the hospital, some clients just want to capture that moment. I know one of my biggest regrets as a birthing mom was not having more video and more photos. So sometimes I might offer it on my phone, or offer it with my professional camera. So yeah, basically that's what I can do for the mom. So question from Sally: Austin, what kind of support can I expect after I give birth? I hear this can be the hardest time, which I really like. I truly agree with that. Many times, again, I feel like with the wedding, we prepare for the wedding. So that's birth, you're giving birth, you're pregnant. And then the afterbirth, which is the marriage, it can be very, very challenging. So one of the first things that I would have in your back pocket is a lactation consultant, if you plan on breastfeeding, especially. And during this time, during the pandemic, I feel that it is particularly important that you guys have a plan. Right now, there's a formula shortage in some areas, and so I'm not anti-formula, but I think it's also great to have a backup plan if you don't plan to breastfeed, or if you plan to do both. It's always a great idea to have that support system. If you're in the upstate of South Carolina, one of the people that I like send all of my clients to is Nourish Greenville. They have an amazing resource full of amazing lactation consultants who truly have a compassion for women who would like to breastfeed, and even for women who want to relactate, or women who are just having issues. And a lot of times, I know I've done a training with them, and they said many times they're in their sessions just unpacking feelings, because a lot of people they feel so heavy after they give birth, and sometimes breastfeeding can feel like such a burden. So definitely get that breastfeeding education. Breastfeeding is a great way to bond with your baby. There are COVID antibodies in breast milk. Even if you don't want to breastfeed for a long time, or if there's trauma around breastfeeding, you can always pump. You can do colostrum harvesting. That's something that you can look up on YouTube. But at least give your baby that colostrum, and what you do after that is up to you. And another way that I kind of help moms prepare for postpartum, again, is thinking about how do they want to feel. You want to feel relaxed, you want to rest, because your baby wants you to feel relaxed and feel at ease with them in order to help them transition smoothly. So one of the things that you might think about employing is a meal service or a cleaning service. Who do you want to be at your home? And if they are at your home, what do you want them to do? A lot of times we have a lot of families who want to see the baby and want to, hold the baby, but many times um, they're not thinking about the mother. So even you and your partner just having that conversation, like, what do you want the environment to be like after you give birth? So, creating a budget. If you don't have a budget for postpartum services and you're having a baby shower, that's a great time to create even just like a link somehow. And I think there are some pregnancy related links where people can contribute to doula services or postpartum services. It's always a great idea to add that to your baby shower website and say, hey, and it's also a great way to educate your communities on the importance of a doula and a postpartum doula. So one of the great things that you can always do is create a budget, a pocket of money to kind of help you with that postpartum part. Then I see, hi Kia, you're back. I was just talking away. And I'm waiting. I think it's still slightly delayed a bit. I'm not sure if your mic's working, Kia. And so, from Tanisha, your husband's a little bit nervous and is making you uptight. What would most doulas help him as well? Um, Potentially, I would honestly recommend considering getting some. So a lot of times what I do with my couples or birthing moms and partners is sometimes I'll recommend that they do like a couple of therapy sessions, because there might be a reason why he feels uptight. And even some birthing moms, they might feel anxious or feel some kind of anxiety, and a lot of times that could be due to trauma, especially if they're multi-birthing moms. Some moms have birthing trauma. So like, as a doula, I have a list of providers that I send my clients to, because it's out of my scope to provide therapy services. But I would much rather prefer them to people that, are amazing human beings. And I'm so blessed to have a pocket of people that I refer my clients to, and a therapist is one of them. But, if it's something that you guys can unpack together, I definitely recommend that you guys um, seek a little bit of like counseling just to help you navigate that, because again, feeling nervous during labor is does not work in labor's favor, because the more that you're anxious and you're nervous and you're stressed out, the higher level of adrenaline exists within your birth, and adrenaline is not does not give for effective birthing. If anything, it can slow down labor. And so it's amazing to, have that support system in place so that you can be relaxed as much as possible, so that oxytocin can flow. And it's important that we have a good balance of chemicals. And I know Kia can explain it to you best, but labor is a big chemical equation, and all the hormones have to flow at the perfect timing. So if stress is there, we kind of want to address it now for sure. know. Let's see. All right, Key, I think you're still kind of muted. I think your mic is still muted. Let me make sure. So, question from Sherry: could you be my support in hospital or home birth? So yes, I offer support in the hospital and also for home births as well. Doulas can offer support for medicated or unmedicated birth, for vaginal birth, or even a planned cesarean. A lot of women want vaginal births, but sometimes it doesn't always go that way. Or there are some women who elect to have cesareans, and there are ways that you can do it to where it's a gentle cesarean, so that the babies get the same benefit that they would from a vaginal birth. With gentle cesareans, it allows for the baby to come out, smoothly and slowly, and just very similar to a vaginal birth. So I support moms through whatever choice they make. Hi, Ann. I am located in the upstate of South Carolina, and you can contact me at mammamagnolia.com. That's MOMMAMAGNOLIA, mammamagnolia.com. And email the same thing, info@mammamagnolia.com. But yeah, I'm in the upstate of South Carolina.
Hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me now, Arialle?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I apologize for pantomime.
No problem.
Okay, so let's talk about plans. I know we talked that you help moms with their birth plan, and how do you like to interact with the birthing provider and the birth plan?
So, so during our birth planning sessions, or I like to call them birth goals, birth goals are kind of less, there's less pressure, because with plans, when things don't go as planned, you get disappointed. You don't want the mom to become disappointed during her birthing season. And so, during my birth goaling sessions, it's just an extensive template, with all the possibilities. So, you might have a mom who, she wants to have a vaginal birth, and, she says that she doesn't want a Pitocin or epidural, or whatever else, especially if she's having a hospital birth, or if she's having a home birth. There's some things that may not apply to her plan, but she should still think about it in case she gets transferred to a hospital, or even has an unplanned cesarean. So during those sessions, we just talk through all of those things. And many times I've had most conversations with midwives, because usually, especially with home births, not necessarily midwives in the hospital, but more so midwives who are doing home births. I have had the opportunity to sit down with them, with the mom, more so to listen, because again, I feel like it's not my show, and I'm not necessarily the medical professional, but I'm usually there just to hear, so that the midwife and I can get to know each other. Usually with my clients that are giving birth in the hospital, I like to ask for them to at least let the doctor know that I will be in the room, so that it's a surprise, and hopefully after my experience it'll be a pleasant surprise, which I have had before. But it would be great. I know with COVID, even some birthing partners have not been able to go into the room with birthing body, but I mean, it would be awesome, just to make their acquaintance, because I'm still getting to know doctors in our areas, and I feel like doulas, just there's, according to evidence-based birth, doulas can potentially help shorten labor. So it's like we can work together, especially if your provider is definitely pro birthing body, and want, they want to meet the mom's needs, and they, especially with COVID and all these babies, we want to get labor moving along as much as possible. So I feel like, doulas and midwives and doulas and doctors can work well together, especially when it comes to helping mom along, and And so I like to interact with providers, and I've had some great experiences with both midwives and doctors, more so with doctors after the fact, once they know me.
Ariel, if you can hear me, can you talk about the type of birth that often seeks your services?
So I have moms anywhere from, who want to work with midwives in the hospital or midwives for home birth, even moms who are going with, um, who want to give birth in the hospital, but they want to have a natural birth, and moms who know their limitations and they know, like, hey, my pain threshold is not that high. I'm gonna want an epidural and pitocin and get I want to get give me all the drugs. Um, I help those moms too because I think it's always a great idea to know when to time those things. And as a doctor, it's good to let labor start on its own, and then we use those tools as to help birth along if mom needs help. So I think it's good to time those things at the right time if you want to have an epidural or if you need to use pitocin to help those contractions become more powerful. Um, some moms don't know that. Some moms, they just don't have an understanding of how that really works. And so anywhere from, low risk birth to I also have had some high risk moms as well. So yeah.
I know we talked about pain support, and when I was in labor, somebody did a maneuver on my lower back near my hips, and I
Mhm.
honestly wish that been working together. Maybe you were there at the time, and I didn't know how to provide that, and understandably, like the person who was doing the maneuver couldn't do that the whole time, while
Mhm.
having maybe other laboring mom that they were taking care of different things that they had to do as like a nurse, a physician coming in and out of my room.
Mhm.
I want you to talk about some of the main that you offer as a doula.
You said pain management?
Yeah.
You said okay. So yeah, that whoo, hip squeezes. Were you referring to hip squeezes? Yes. Okay. So
Yes.
yeah,
Sorry,
as a
I think there's
doula,
a delay. I apologize.
there is a little bit. So yeah, anywhere from hip squeezes to even aromatherapy. So earlier I talked about how, with when a birthing mom during her going session, we kind of think about, what does she want to smell? What does she want to see? So pain management engages the five senses. Even taste, like what do you want to taste? So seeing, a lot of times pain management, some people are deeply affected by lights. So some women like dim lighting. Some women want to smell earthy scent or calming scent. So that can be lavender, or if they feel nauseous, that's mint. um what can help potentially like strengthen their contractions, that's clary sage. What do they want to hear? Some women like to birth in silence, or other women want to listen to gospel music, or trap music, or classical music, or just their own breath. Some women, when it comes to taste, I provide something like honey sticks, or people have, they usually like to get the ice or water or Gatorade, but those are also ways to manage pain. To physical touch, had one mom, she didn't want the hip squeezes, she just wanted light scraping, a light tickle. So it really just depends on the birthing body and how she receives comfort. So again, that oxytocin can flow and help her like be nice and relaxed. And those are just some examples of different ways that I support moms with pain management.
Awesome. Other things to about. Let me see what talked about. Say if I think if a person is going to have a doula, and incorporate the doula into their overall support, and some discussions, definitely see if your provider is, you're seeing a midwife, an OBGYN, any of the different providers that are a family person, family medicine person, that to let them know, like Arialle, let them know you have a doula, and if there's a way to introduce them ahead, and really to talk some ideas of what we would like. Things that earlier was that oftentimes she interacts with moms in the second trimester and later. And I think that those of us who are birthing persons that may not be planners, we may not realize that we might benefit from dating months in advance, weeks in advance, about some of the things that we may want to experience. And so maybe if you are a planner, connect with a doula early on, have the discussion with your obstetric provider about what you would like to experience, and it might be more discussion over time. I think help to make sure you get a buy-in and also feedback on your goals, and whether some things that you are interested difficult to achieve in certain settings, and to come to like an agreement of support. The things that I did now, mind you, physician, and I chose another physician to my obstetric almost for Arialle. My brother offered to provide her services, and my husband will be totally fine. But in reality, he probably would have enjoyed having the extra support from somebody who knew what they were doing, and a support person. But one of the things I did do was to buy in from my obstetric. I decided to do an experiment and to avoid different medications in my labor. I did that as an experiment to understand those persons that want that experience, and my realm up to a different side of it. I mean, I probably wouldn't have done it unless somebody challenged me to do it. But I had a discussion with obstetrician, and I said, this is what I want to do. And her eyeballs opened up, as happens sometimes when in general the medical community is presented with something that they don't routinely do. Sometimes they may not initially keen on it, but have a conversation and talk with them, express your desire. So I had a conversation, asked outright, can you support me in the birth plan? Like, I need for you to tell me whether you can be on board with this. And then they said, I will support you. I knew that I had the right person. I think it's important getting your goals together, to address that with your obstetric provider and get their buy-in. And if they may make suggestions to your plan, ask them to understand why that is. They may have reasons why certain things may not be as you think it's going to be, or your birth plan flexible. And also make sure that what is a priority is really a priority. Sometimes when we make lists, we can get really detailed with lists. But I think a birth plan really should be what's more important for you to experience during childbirth. And sometimes that's just things. It's not the most important things may not be a 30-page, a 30-point detailed list. So, other lists that you think community may know.
I have a question for you, Kia. So, how do you, as
Sorry,
an
I missed the question.
obstetrician?
There's this.
Oh, that's a slight delay. How do you, as an obstetrician, you just said like not like a 30 page. So how do you, have you received a birth plan from a mom, and how do you feel about receiving birth plans? Like, what are your first thoughts as a provider when you get those from clients or from your patients?
So for me, I think autonomy is very important, and it's one of the ethical principles in medicine. And I feel like sometimes it's not in a in obstetrics, it's not coming across in medicine as
Mhm.
an as someone who identifies as a woman and a Black woman. I wholeheartedly want to champion autonomy in other birthing persons. So I definitely will have different patients that I'm seeing that will we'll go over it together. And I only deliver in the hospital where I was working. We had like one specific hospital that we delivered at. So I would from that framework and say, I see your and navigate through might work the one that I'm familiar with. Sometimes I might say, well, this may be a little difficult to do, or what do you think about this? And like suggest something that's similar but might be exactly what they had on their list, and or try to get a sense of, well, what's your goal for this particular item, but
Mhm.
talk me through what you really want to experience, and help navigate to somebody who's accustomed to the hospital setting how we can achieve that in the hospital setting. Or we're going to do that. Like some people will want, I want to do skin to skin, no problem. It's a birth, it's
Mhm.
a friendly, we do skin to skin automatically. So don't, feel free to mention that to your nurse when you arrive, and go. And I also tell that birthing person to go through their list with their labor and delivery nurse, so that them knows what they're hoping to. I think that's an important thing, not just to do it in the office, but once you've gone over it with your provider in the office, again, go over it again with your labor and delivery nurse, or the birth in person, just to refresh them of what was already decided on ahead of time.
Yeah, cool. um, I know right before I interrupted your question, you asked if there was anything else that I think birthing moms or birthing bodies should know um, prior to giving birth. And I think one of the things that I like to encourage my clients is to not be afraid to ask questions, because I think that's a good way to gauge anyone, is to ask questions, to see the personalities of your providers, to see if they're the right provider for you. Because if you have for example, if you have a practice, you're shooting for a vaginal birth, and this particular practice has never done a vaginal birth, or they have a high cesarean rate, then it might be a great idea to find a provider that can give you or potentially give you what you desire. And I know with my clients, a lot of my clients usually are afraid to even ask doctors questions. And I'm like, don't be afraid to ask questions, because that's what they're there for. And a lot of times they don't know what to expect, especially if they're first time birthing moms. So, like, ask those questions. And then another thing that I would recommend, in addition to taking a breastfeeding course prior to giving birth, also look into getting chiropractic care. For me, chiropractic care was like a game changer. It's more of a preventative care. I know that the body is connected, labor is connected to the nervous system. So, for me, I enjoy getting chiropractic care, and I felt like it was one of the reasons why my labor went so quickly, even as a first time birthing mom. And then having a therapist on deck to just talk through some potential trauma, if there's trauma there. And finally, having a postpartum plan. Those are like if I could say, if you could focus in on those key things, those would be the four things that I personally, as a doula who have worked with moms, have seen that need, especially for their time of prenatal, postnatal. I see that that's like those are the number one needs. So yeah, that's all the things that I can emphasize as a doula.
I definitely agree with you. I wrote a book on Accessible Professionals page about providers, knowing the stats on where you might deliver. I think if you find out that is respectful but still in sight, what the pattern is of your provider, I think that that will help, because I think sometimes birthing persons don't know how to figure out who they're going to in the office is an ideal match experience I want to have. It happened with my very close person that was her doula. And in hindsight, I think that this particular person should have gone to a midwife, and I don't have any problems as a maternal fetal that. I think that midwives are awesome attendants. They know what they're doing. I've worked with fantastic midwives that have been a part of my education in obstetrics and gynecology, and I almost went to a midwife for my own, but the person I wanted to go to retired before I got pregnant. But I would have if they had been practicing, and I don't think there's anything wrong with supporting midwifery. And so I think that um, sometimes what your providers that we got the particular group cesarean deliveries. Maybe the cesarean rate was higher than ideal or normal. So that on the, I would say, oh, it's probably not the right person for this shared person that we know to have gone to if they were wanting less hands-on, kind of more letting it do its own thing, and definitely wanting a vaginal birth. And I know for us in that experience, we were frustrated because we felt like the person who was over and should not have had a cesarean was always on the brink of a cesarean throughout the majority of the labor in ways that I didn't understand as a maternal medicine provider. I didn't see how that was happening. I didn't think it was warranted. And thankfully, this person that we know vaginal delivery, but it took a lot of from multiple people, including Arialle, to avoid that scenario. And then afterwards, nurses on labor and delivery spilled the beans and say, just so you know, that group is really pro cesarean. And so it wasn't this person, it's the group. And that's like minor tip. You can find a way to I think labor and delivery nurses at the hospital where you're planning to deliver know that kind of information. I doubt that that's what we ask an obstetrician and not it be perceived the wrong way, but you could ask other people that work with people that work beside you a straightforward opinions, whether it's residents, nurse, labor and delivery nurses, I think are people to get that kind of scoop. If there's a way to connect with a labor and delivery nurse and say, hey, I'm wanting to group me. Could you recommend somebody that it might line up with an ideal? And even if you find out that you're seeing seeing a group that may not really ever support the plan that you want, even if your plan is not asking a lot from them, but maybe that's just not their comfort. They will support you in the way you want to be supported. And even if you do, sometimes it can still switch your group, or you can switch your provider. In of COVID, that might be a little bit more difficult. I do know people that are still changing providers in the third trimester because you want to try as best as possible to feel confident in who's going be your birth attendant, and that support you, as you know, and that you guys are in the experience in that back forth, so you can have your autonomy in a safe way.
I know I've heard some birthing moms, birthing bodies ask, when they go in for visits, they'll ask the nurses like, who do you want to um like, if they'll go and ask the nurses like, if you had to give birth, who would you give birth with? And the nurses are very honest. And I think having some connections to nurses, even as a doula, is always a game changer too, because you can always ask them questions and they will tell you honestly like which providers can provide what services. And so I think it's great for birthing bodies and for doulas to have those relationships as well.
There's a question for need an obstetrician. To recap, Arialle talked to us earlier, works with other birth attendants, so she's a support person, but would still encourage you to have an obstetric provider, whether that's a doula, whether that's a midwife, an obstetrician, a family medicine doctor that deals with pregnancy. So the doula accessory person there to the birthing person before they're in labor, help them get ready for labor, during the labor, after those early transitions, to help them with the extra support.
Yes, because our jobs are not, doulas are not medical. That's outside of our scope. That's another controversial topic, but yeah, no. Not for me.
I don't know if you said it earlier, I had some connection issues. To how you got trained in being a doula?
I did not talk about how I became a doula. It's one of those things where like ever since I was a child, like it's one of those things where you don't even know, just life became full circle for me. So I mean, my story. I started out as a dancer, and while I was a dancer, I was a nanny for different families. But even prior to that, as a kid on PBS like late at night used to like show births, and I would be up glued to the TV watching these women give birth. And as a child, even during my art class, I was a part of a community program, and I would make sculptures of pregnant women with children. I'm not even exaggerating. So my love for women with child and giving birth has always been innate. And I had at one time I wanted to be an obstetrician, gynecologist. I thought I wanted to deliver babies, but my love for dance kind of steered me toward dancing professionally. But when I got pregnant with my daughter, I went the birth center midwifery route and really loved my birth, even just how I prepared for birth, through nutrition, through exercising. I did the group centered classes at the birth center here. I really took the holistic approach before I even knew what holistic, before I even knew what it was. And but then later on, it's so interesting how like God will use particular people. So, there's a amazing lady here named Stormy Harmon through the Set Apart Doula Collective. She was having a training, and like two people tagged me in her training, and they were like, they just tagged me, and I was like, I didn't know why these people were tagging me in this doula training. So I decided to check it out. It wasn't really on the forefront of my mind. I'm like, hey, why not? Like I love kids, I love babies, I love birthing bodies. Like let's go. But when I looked into the training, it really piqued my interest. Down to like the reading list that she had us read. Like a lot of people don't know this about me, but I love to research and I love to read. And so while being a doula, it's something that's not necessarily regulated. You do want to understand the background of your doula, and being a part of the Set Apart Doula Collective and having that holistic approach. Education is very, very important, and that to the collective, and that also resonated with me as well. And so if I'm working with birthing body, I don't want to be making up, what I'm saying and just, doing the things that feel good, doing the Instagram worthy, picture poses and things like that. Like, no, like you're in the trenches with these birthing bodies. And so just my love for helping women and bridging the gap and being there for them, I decided to go through with the training. And literally, like, as soon as I finished my certification, I had clients lined up, and it's literally been nonstop. And so, doula work is definitely hard work. To see a woman, um, especially at whether they're first time, but particularly multi-birthing moms. I've had moms really compare and contrast their first experiences versus their second or third experiences, and I'm just so thankful to have been able to provide an even more enhanced experience for them, because a lot of times we don't know what we don't know. A lot of times we think some experiences are normal, and sometimes they're not. And I've just have been blessed to do this hard work to help women, even just to have an empowered birth, even if it was just a change of mindset, just knowing that their bodies could do it. Because a lot of times it's hard to walk alone, even if you have a partner. But when you're walking, with your partner, especially with a woman, we have a way of just activating the other beautiful parts of women, especially when you really want them to have the kind of empowered birth. When you want that for them, there's nothing like having that kind of energy with you in the room. And so it became a passion of mine once it started. Like, it literally has been nonstop. And so I've been doing it for over almost um, a year and a half now. And I've attended births from hospitals to home births to vaginal birth and beyond, and it's been great.
That is so awesome to hear.
Yes, 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 yes.
Arialle is based on Magnolia LLC. Follow her on Instagram, also as Mama Magnolia LLC. We just want to thank you, Arialle, for joining this live with us in the pregnancy series through accessible professionals to understand how a doula serves a birthing body. Hopefully, we have provided this for any of the people coming on to this live. To know that you can work with a doula if you are going to deliver in any which kind of way. They are there to support that birthing person, no matter your experience that you want to have, what experience you ultimately have. And as one provider, I have to say that I'm completely welcome with a doula. At the end of the day, I'm here for their child to come safely into the world. And if they want somebody that's going to help support them, help them achieve a healthy and a pleasant experience, I hope that I'm not alone in my profession in saying that I welcome working with individuals that are there in that capacity. And if we are ever working in the same place, please, you can come up. Hey, I'm working with this birthing person. I want you to, let's go over and make sure that we're all in the same plans. We'll have us. I think that kind of communication and mindedness and welcoming spirit, I think is more needed from medical providers, and that it's okay for things to be different than you're accustomed to. I think sometimes, speaking for my colleagues, the area of profession, I think sometimes we are a little hesitant as medical providers if we haven't learned about something that it makes us nervous. And that needs to be the case. I think that there are a lot of things that we're not accustomed to that can be a way to do something. I know stories were coming about things that are different. One of the area like over is being positions, and I remember when I was in labor, I was in a position that I normally would have felt comfortable with a birthing person in. As an obstetrician, I was on my back and my hunched over a little bit, and I absolutely hated that position. I could tell that my obstetrician was just being nice to me and telling me that I was doing a good job, but I could that nothing was happening and that all my effort was it. And I pushed like that for like 3 hours. And
Oh
and thank my obstetrician, and it was a very low rate hospital and group, and I know that not be the case in a lot of other places that's pushing like that and not really getting that good would have been a problem. And so I just I was like, you know what, I feel like I need to other positions. I just don't feel like I'm actually doing anything like that. And for me, and in 5 minutes of the position, I pushed my daughter out because I just needed to find something that was going to allow me to feel strong, and that I was pushing. I just couldn't connect with my body, actually like distracting me from my labor efforts. And alternative move it. And so I think, and I definitely think it was a little for my obstetrician, and I don't often see women birth in that position, but I'm not always in delivery. Women are, people are trying all kinds. I have seen a lot of different positions, and I think I'd end up doing, but I know at first it made my provider what typical position, but we had already agreed to support one another, so I got the support and I had my baby. So I think at the end of the day, it's okay from something that just, but maybe accustomed to, if it's going to help them and that other achieve, feel more connected with. I'm also preaching to my choir and encouraging us to be open and supportive of doulas who are there to support those birthing persons in their journey, for us all of the support and be community that helps these birthing mothers.
I can tell you, changing those positions can
Thank you
be
all for those who've been with us. I can agree from my own experience, it was a game changer. So thank you all for staying with us through the technical difficulties. Thank you, lovely Arialle, Magnolia LLC on Facebook, Instagram. Please support her. You can connect with her individually. Please also connect with us on Accessible Professionals. We are going to keep doing this type of introducing professionals for different areas of involvement to our community, making sure that you understand and who you can reach for support. So we would love to connect with you. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we have our website, App Cares, AP for Access Professional Cares.ca. We are a Canadian company. And on YouTube and Twitter. So we'd love to connect with you and let us know if you like this content, if you have questions that you want us to answer, and we can structure some of our content tailored to the things that interest you most. So thank you. And we're going to end the live and wish you a very safe Martin Luther King Day in the United States.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We are so pleased to have you on this live.